Howdy ho ho, my good humans. How the hell are you doing? This is Unnecessary Rambling. I'm Brandon Sylvia. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Appreciate y'all for stopping by for the first ever Unnecessary Game Awards show. The 2023 Unnecessary Game Awards, where I'm going to sit here for the next hour and a half or so and ramble about the best of in 2023 in video games. I don't think I said any of that correctly, but that is what we're doing. We're rambling about video games. I'm talking about the shit I really liked in games this year, and got a bunch of different categories that I will be going over and discussing, and then we'll conclude the show with your game of the year. The grand finale will be your personal pick for, well, I guess your collective pick for game of the year, your 2023 GOTY. So how I'm going to do this, and obviously everything will be time-stamped. You can go through and pick whatever damn category you want to jump into out the gate. But I have a bunch of different categories listed out here, and I have a runner-up and I have a winner for each category. And I'm going to try not to dive into honorable mentions too much and shit like that. I might hit a couple, but I'm going to try to stick to runner-up and winner. That way I'm not, I'm not sitting here rambling for fucking 4 hours talking about everything under the sun. So let's go ahead and jump into our first award of the evening, the most underrated game of 2023. And this one's tough because 2023 is just a year full of underrated games because we had so many of the heavy hitters. You know what I mean? We had so many of those, the Tears of the Kingdoms and the Baldur's Gate 3s and the RE4s and the Spider-Man 2s and the big franchises came out to play in a big way. So it just leaves a lot of other games looking for a little bit of spotlight. And I'm going to shine a light on two that I just don't hear talked about much at all, man. And first up, my runner-up is going to be El Paso Elsewhere. This is, a Max Payne inspired third-person shooter using a lot of those mechanics, the bullet time mechanics and shit like that you know and love from Max Payne, combined with, the taking pills to heal yourself and this nihilistic sort of story that's going on throughout, but a really well-written story, a really strong story from front to back. And you have the low-res kind of textureless faces, but it never separates or pulls you out of the story. The story is just so strong, hits so hard throughout the entire runtime, and just the best soundtrack in games this year, in my opinion. The music ties together with what's going on narratively throughout the entire game. It's an absolute treat. It's so stylized visually. It's so aesthetically pleasing. Each level has its own kind of distinct texture, distinct feel. It's such a badass video game. But my winner is gonna have to go to Killer Frequency. I just think this is, such a slept on title this year. It was such a treat playing through this in 2023. A concept that I have never really seen before in a video game. You playing as a DJ and solving these different murders and having the 911 line rerouted to your booth at the radio station so you can keep everyone up to speed with, where the murderer might be at, and having people who are calling you when they're running away from the murderer. Like, that's just such a unique hook out the gate, and vibe and atmosphere. It's a 10 out of 10. You know what I mean? You're in this radio booth. It's 80s, I believe. You're in the 80s, and you have the vinyls, the records that you're taking out of their sleeve. You're putting them on the record player. You're spinning the records. You're taking calls, pressing the buttons, wadding up your notes from the show, throwing them into the hoop, and up under the hoops the trash can. Like, it just embodies the feel of being a DJ, and it's incredibly damn immersive. And having that story where, your decisions can decide the fate of who lives and who dies in this small town, and it just, the game keeps on rolling. I mean, you can spam, your manual saves and repeat shit, but it's just, it's so goddamn different. And it bums me the hell out that I don't hear more people talk about this thing, because it is truly sticking to one specific vision and keeping that like the main focal point throughout the entire experience, and letting everything kind of be developed around that. Like, this is a very specifically created experience. And yeah, I love it for doing what it does so well and sticking to that one specific thing, you know what I mean, of being that DJ and creating that incredible atmosphere. And then yeah, with the murder mystery angle, it does that one specific thing so well. It's not a game that's mechanically dense. There's not a lot going on in it in terms of mechanics. It's just puzzle solving and taking in the vibes of, you know, being in this DJ booth in the 80s. So the winner for most underrated game is gonna have to go to Killer Frequency, with the runner-up being El Paso Elsewhere. Alright, but now let's head on to our next category for the show, and that is going to be Pleasant Surprise. And this can be awarded to anything, any game, any mechanic, a developer, you know, with a title that I didn't expect to be as good as it was. Anything. This can go to anything in the games industry that was a pleasant surprise. And this year, my runner-up for the 2023 Pleasant Surprise Award is going to go to Starfield's shooting. That's got to be my runner-up. I hate Bethesda combat. I've always hated Bethesda combat. It's just always been something that I deal with. You know, I like Fallout 3. I love Fallout 3, but it was just, yeah, okay, I'm going to deal with this because the story's so good. The gameplay is so immersive. The world building is excellent. The sense of wonder is fantastic, but I hated the gameplay. And Starfield is the first Bethesda game I've ever played where I did not actively hate the gameplay. The shooting was rock solid. The weapon diversity was rock solid. Like, this felt like a solid first-person shooter, while also having all of those other, you know, role-playing systems on offer and all the different things you can do in Starfield. But the big standout shock to me was just, holy shit, Bethesda really refined their combat system, their gunplay. And I know there was, I don't know if this was confirmed, but I believe there was rumor at one point that id went in and was working with Bethesda to try to, you know, help them clean up the first person shooting quite a bit. So hats off to however the shooting improvements were made from Fallout 4 to Starfield. It is a drastic improvement. And yeah, I was just very shocked how solid the shooting was in Starfield. But my winner for Pleasant Surprise of the year has to go to RoboCop's story. Who in the hell would have expected in 2023 you're playing a damn RoboCop Mass Effect game? I'm not saying it's to that degree, but you're getting to make damn decisions in a RoboCop game. Decisions that actually matter. Getting to you know, kind of endorse these different people running for mayor, getting to pick who you endorse, getting to work alongside a journalist to get more dirt, to get more, you know, investigative insight into what's going on with the damn the OCP, I believe. I could get the name mixed up, but, you know, trying to help the journalist, you know, gather a little bit more dirt to build up her case on some corruption taking place inside the city. And, like, you can decide, do I share this information with her? Do I not share this information with her? You have the damn psychiatrist who is with you throughout. You're getting to make different decisions there. You have a full stat tree where you can go in and upgrade your... Do they call it persuasiveness or they call it charisma? I forget exactly the terminology, but this was damn surprising. The story in RoboCop was so damn surprising throughout the entire game. I was glued to the screen, waiting to see what the next big moment that was going to take place in this narrative was going to be. A total shocker. I just thought this was going to be a fun first-person shooter, gory as shit, bloody as shit. It was all that. I loved that. Brutal as fuck. Loved it. But the story, I don't give a damn about no RoboCop, and I was totally invested in this shit. So your winner of the Pleasant Surprise Award in 2023 is going to RoboCop Rogue City's narrative, with the runner-up being Starfield's shooting. Alright, and now heading on into our next award, we have Most Unique Game of 2023, and this is being awarded to, just as the title would suggest, the game that came out this year that I just thought was unlike anything else. And for the runner-up, I'm going to have to go with Hi-Fi Rush. Blending character action combat with a rhythm game where the whole world is in sync on this one beat, playing to this one rhythm that the whole world is kind of operating off of, and you see the different, the steam shooting out at the appropriate time in response with the beat. The kind of everything is just moving and vibing to this one specific beat. And combining that, like I said, with the kind of light character action gameplay and having the rhythm elements tied into that, and then combining that with the Saturday morning cartoon visual presentation, and it's just such a unique video game. As soon as you boot it up, as soon as you look at it, it's just really unlike anything we get in modern games. We saw a lot of this back in the day with your Sly Coopers and Ratchet and Clanks and Jack and Daxters, but even that's just it's those are awesome 3D platformers, but this is just doing so much. It's combining so many different things that you would never really think to combine into this one genre, and it knocks it out of the freaking park. So Hi-Fi Rush, Tango, shout out to you. Really just incredibly unique game here, and yeah, that's why you're walking away with the runner-up for the most unique game of 2023 award. But my winner is going to have to go to Thirsty Suitors, and I think there's not a lot that even needs to be said here. It's a dating sim meets a skateboarding game meets a turn-based RPG meets a cooking game, and somehow it does pretty much all of that really well. The skateboarding isn't incredible, but it's still fun to just ride around on your skateboard. It's not the most advanced mechanically, but everything else is done exceptionally well. The cooking is challenging and really fun and really rewarding. The dating system is intriguing. The story is intriguing surrounding that dating system, and also just the angles of forgiveness, and the main character that you're playing as definitely has some wrongs that she's trying to right, and going through that entire arc while engaging in the turn-based battles, while engaging in all those other things that I just mentioned. It is the embodiment of a unique video game. This is totally freaking unique. So, most unique game of 2023, that award is going to Thirsty Suitors, with Hi-Fi Rush being the runner-up. All right, and now we move into Best Moment, and I want to go ahead and warn you all, there will be spoilers in this segment, and I'll give you a heads up before we get to it, but obviously this is going to just what I thought was the best moment in a game in 2023. It doesn't necessarily have to be story related, but both of my picks here are story related. So we'll start it off with the runner-up, and I'm going to spoil the opening to Spider-Man 2 here. So go ahead, and I'll timestamp this so that you can skip ahead. But Spider-Man 2, the opening of Spider-Man 2 is for sure, it has to be my runner-up for best moment. Just the fucking scale of this encounter with Sandman. It's unlike anything that I witnessed in gaming this year in terms of scale. Shout out to Final Fantasy 16 with some of those boss battles, undeniably epic in scale as well. I mean, hell, shout out to Horizon, that big ass final boss fight, very Shadow of the Colossus-esque, equally impressive in some rights. But that immediate holy fuck moment that is on offer with Spider-Man 2 is truly awe-inspiring. When a game developer is giving a damn near infinite budget, and they choose to spend that money in this direction to nail what they nailed with this opening moment. That's the shit that makes you appreciate this art form so much, where, you know, they have this financial backing, but they don't choose to go and nickel and dime you and monetize this, and okay, we're gonna spend this budget on really honing in our monetization tactics. They went and created just ridiculous, a fucking ridiculous moment here. And I guess, you know, we should probably break it down a bit, but it starts off, you're playing as Peter, and Peter is like a substitute teacher, and he's teaching at Miles' school, the school Miles is attending. And Miles is one of his students in this class, and there's like some rumbling outside, and Miles' spidey senses begin to tingle, and he sees sand flowing in from the open window in the class. So he knows something's up. He has to be excused to go to the bathroom, and he goes outside, and he sees like this huge sandstorm in the distance, and he then comes back to the classroom, and he's like, Peter, dude, you gotta come check this out. And Peter, obviously, he bails on the substitute teaching job to go and take care of Sandman, and you're web swinging towards the sandstorm, and as you're swinging, you see the sandstorm like coming at you, and this just such a natural, once again, holy fuck moment when you see this storm pursuing you almost. It's like this immediate sense of danger at such a high scale. It's so fucking immersive. And then, you know, when you finally see Sandman, he's so huge. He's fucking larger than the buildings that are around him. He's taking up like an entire block of the street, just towering over all the property around him. And you know, you battle him for a bit, and he throws you into this building, and then you cut to Spider-Man running through the building, avoiding Sandman in this beautifully produced, like, ultra cinematic gameplay sequence, which is some of my favorite shit in games in general. I think Uncharted really kind of nailed these moments back in the day probably better than any franchise ever. And you really feel that DNA. Insomniac really borrows from that DNA. And you saw it in Spider-Man 1, but this moment in specific was like the perfect culmination of that transfer of Uncharted DNA into Spider-Man. But yeah, Sandman is just totally destroying this building, and you're trying to avoid getting destroyed with the building. But you go through, you beat up some of the goons, and Sandman, he's still there. He ultimately ends up getting the better of Spider-Man, the Amazing Spider-Man. And then Miles comes in to save the day, and you get into this boss fight with Sandman, but you're playing as Miles this time, not as Peter. But the coolest moment, in my opinion, is when Sandman grabs Miles and just launches his ass across the city. It is insane on all technical fronts. The fact that the damn frame rate stays locked in at a consistent 60 as you're being slung across the damn city and you know, colliding with this building and all the different particle effects that are taking place on the screen, like, that is a all pun intended, it is a marvel technically. And once again, just from a pure scale level, when you see games with this type of budget and they're using the budget to pull off shit like this that is just totally a technical marvel, it's like, hell yeah. This is when AAA gaming can be at its peak. But my winner has to be, and I should go ahead once again, jump ahead if you have not played Jedi Survivor. This with Spider-Man 2 spoiling the opening of the game, not the biggest sin, but I'm about to spoil the ending of Jedi Survivor, and then just a couple specific moments with the ending that really got me. But this was, for one, let's just go ahead. The winner of the best moment of 2023 is Bode betraying Cal and being a fucking Jedi. Like, I never saw that coming in a million years. And just everything about this, like that entire, I don't even know, it felt like an hour, but definitely at least that 20-30 minute segment is one of the strongest conclusions to a video game that I've ever seen in my life. I never saw this coming. Bo was, you know, such a great friend to Cal, seems so goddamn loyal. And then, you know, with the betrayal, his justification for it was so understandable, about him wanting to keep his daughter safe after his wife passed away. Like, his daughter was all that he had left, and they lived totally isolated in fear of anything ever happening to his daughter. And he couldn't imagine having the opportunity to lead her to this promising future, and foregoing those plans for Cal and for Seer to continue training the Jedi on Tanalorr, and potentially risking the Empire hunting them down and his daughter being hurt in the process. And it wasn't like a potential for him. He thought that was an absolute guarantee. So he was like, fuck this. And then he killed fucking Master Cordova. And then that leads you into this dope ass chase scene, and which then leads you straight into this dope ass boss fight. And then another twist inside of the twist is that I don't believe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think you can win that boss fight. So I'm sitting there constantly trying to, to stay the fuck alive. And then, as I'm sitting there, palms all sweaty, and you die. And then that just so smoothly leads you into like the real crescendo, the real culmination, the real ending of the game. It's like all of these kind of unexpected twists hitting you one after another. It's just this nice dopamine release where your brain is like, it's firing on all cylinders, trying to keep up with what's going on. And it's all happening so fast, but while also not being, it doesn't feel like cheap twist for the sake of being a cheap twist. Everything feels so well laid out from a narrative level. Like you totally understand everybody's reasoning, or specifically Bode's reasoning. And obviously you understand Cal's reasoning for going after him, for chasing him after he kills Master Cordova. Like everything is laid out so succinctly and perfectly from a narrative level, but how all of that kind of ties together from, narrative to gameplay and to the scale, to the spectacle of what's taking place. Like it's for sure the best ending that I've experienced in a game in 2023. One of the best endings that I've experienced in a game, period. And then, playing as Seer, and the boss fight with Darth Vader, and then the whole section where you're taking on the Empire. Like there's so many of those incredibly high scale, high stakes moments, and it's just, the entire game is great, don't get me wrong, but the crescendo, the grand finale that takes place here is just, it's on a different level. It ends on such a high. So yeah, man, my winner for best moment of 2023 is going to have to go to Star Wars Jedi Survivor and that ending, and the runner-up is going to have to go to Spider-Man 2 and that opening. So that kind of works perfectly there. All right, but how about we move on from story beats into mechanics, with the next award being my favorite new mechanic from any video game in 2023. And this one, like I said, I tried not to do goddamn honorable mentions here, but I really struggled with my runner-up for this one. I have two that are like, I can't really pick one or the other. I love both of them so much. I think they're both so unique and worth mentioning. So runner-up is going to have to go to Chia and the possession ability that is on offer with Chia. Being able to possess any damn animal in that game world and being able to play as them, and each animal having their own like distinct movement patterns and mechanics, and the shark swimming in the fucking ocean, and then like flying above all the critters on the ground as a bird, and like you playing as a crab along the beach. Like it's so crazy that you can possess literally anything in this game world and actually play as them, running alongside the dam, running in the forest as a deer. Like you can actually control damn near anything in this game world. And I don't know, that's just, I know, you look at stuff like Geist and other games have had these, smaller scale possession mechanics, but on this level, it is just really, really wild that they were able to pull that off. So yeah, runner-up part one going to Chia with the possession ability, and the other runner-up is going to have to go to Viewfinder with, just the entire concept of that game, being able to take pictures that actually shape the world. Like literally shape the world. This game is just full of fresh, innovative, interesting gameplay. It was truly a delight to play through. But that main hook, the idea of taking a photo of the environment and then being able to, take the environment from the photo and manipulate it into being able to solve puzzles using that environment is insane. And just how this happens instantaneously is even more just bonkers to me. Like, there's no loading process from when you place the image in the world to when it appears in game. It just, from a technical standpoint, this is absolutely incredible, and just how it functions so well is absolutely incredible. Just that idea of, okay, there's this path of nothing between me and my destination, and now I'm going to snap a photo of this sidewalk or of this staircase or of whatever, and being able to just manipulate that, spin it in the right direction so that you can reach your platform by using photos that you're taking. It's a crazy idea, and the fact that they were able to pull it off so well. And, there's just so much else going on in that game outside of this mechanic that was incredibly impressive to me, but we'll save that for the ranking video when I, dive a little bit more in depth with each game. But my winner for favorite new mechanic from any video game in 2023 has to go to Cyberpunk 2077 and the Mantis Blades update. And this is kind of tough because this is more specific to me than it is specific to 2023. With the Mantis Blades, they were already in the base game. I think they were in the base game, but I literally never used them until this year. But thankfully, it seems that I jumped in at the perfect time, because there were like serious upgrades to the Mantis Blades in Cyberpunk 2077 from the time that I played it last to, jumping in again this year, where like there's this new skill tree and you have the unlockable ability in there that like essentially allows you to become Wolverine, and you're like rage killing motherfuckers. And then after you hit your finishing move with the Mantis Blades, or you dismember an enemy, you can then use this leap attack that will let you just springboard like 2 stories, 2 floors up, and you'll pull off this chain kill, this instant chain kill with the next enemy. It's some of the most badass shit that I've ever seen in a video game. But along with that, you have the ability to like deflect enemy bullets back at them when you upgrade your Mantis Blades to a certain level. And once again, I don't know, that one might have already been in the base game, but I never used the Mantis Blades in the base game, so this was all totally fresh to me, totally unique to me. So it does feel specific to this year when I jumped back in to play Phantom Liberty. So I'm gonna let it count, but I'm not too sure of what was brand new. I believe the ability to like do the Wolverine, rage kill attack where I'm springboarding from one floor to the next. I think that's all specific to Phantom Liberty and the updates this year, I think, because I definitely I don't even remember that skill tree in the base game, but you can correct me if I'm wrong. But regardless, this is specific to my experience this year with Phantom Liberty. It was just, I couldn't believe how goddamn fun that was. That was some of the most fun I had with a video game in years, just using those damn Mantis Blades. It became my default go-to gameplay style. So favorite new mechanic of 2023, the winner is going to Cyberpunk 2077 with the Mantis Blades, and the 2 runners-up are going to be Viewfinder, taking the pictures of the environments and instantly using those and placing those in the real game world. And then the other runner-up is going to be Chia's possession ability. All right, how about we spice things up a little bit here? How about we talk about console of the year? Let's do some console warring right here in the middle of this positive, uplifting award show. But I don't know, I think it's fun. I like examining this stuff from, just kind of a consumer perspective to see which of these platforms offered people the most this year. And so obviously, we're talking about PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo here. So no PC or Steam Deck or anything like that. But console of the year runner-up is going to go to Xbox. Just very consistent from a first party standpoint all year, starting the year off with Hi-Fi Rush, and then going into Starfield and Forza Motorsport. And even though Redfall was a major dud, I'm still glad that it's out. I'm glad that Arcane Austin can move on to their next project and then maybe get to work on some Dishonored 3. I know that was initially Leon's game, but it seems Leon's probably going to be busy for a bit with Blade. And I know it's hard to factor in that into the mix, but just Xbox's announcements in 2023. And I don't know, I think you kind of can factor that in a little bit of providing players with a roadmap. Like, we know exactly what we're getting with the future of Xbox, and it looks pretty damn good, and they laid out a lot of those plans in 2023. So I think when you're talking about messaging in 2023, they were excellent with that this year. There were also some really strong day one Game Pass titles like Thirsty Suitors, both of the Yakuza games, Lies of P, Amnesia. They had the Amnesia the Bunker game. They had a lot of strong day one Game Pass titles available on Game Pass this year. And then going into 2024 with stuff like Stalker 2 and then Persona 3, like they have a strong 2024 day one Game Pass lineup from a second and third party front already cooked up. And I'm assuming we'll get a lot more on that in the coming months. So yeah, definitely runner up is going to have to go to Xbox this year. But my winner for the console of the year is going to have to go to Nintendo and the Nintendo Switch. And in my opinion, this isn't even really close. And y'all know I'm not a Nintendo fan at all, but their high quality exclusive lineup of games just absolutely dwarfs their competition in 2023. Obviously, you have Tears of the Kingdom, one of the most successful and critically acclaimed games of all time that released this year. And then alongside that Game of the Year nominee, you have Super Mario Wonder, which is another Game of the Year contender. Two Nintendo games, two GOTY contenders in 1 year, which honestly isn't even all that uncommon for Nintendo. They consistently crank out incredibly high quality content for their player base who enjoys that style of content. But you also had Super Mario RPG, the remake. You had Pikmin 4. You had Metroid Prime Remastered. You had Advance Wars 1 and 2, Fire Emblem Engage, F-Zero 99. I mean, just a totally stacked year for Nintendo. A totally stacked year in terms of high quality exclusive content. And we know that the Switch 2 is on the horizon, probably, I'm assuming, early 2025 or so when that thing launches. So it's like definitely very exciting times for Nintendo. Not necessarily, you have the Princess Peach game in 2024. I don't know, like I said, I'm not very entrenched in the Nintendo ecosystem, so I don't know all the different going-ons within that company, but I can't think of any other announced exclusive content coming for Nintendo in 2024, but with the knowing that Switch 2 is probably close to being revealed, I'm assuming we'll get some really big announcements really soon. So yeah, winner of console of the year has to go to the Nintendo Switch, and the runner-up is going to the Xbox. We'll call it just the Xbox Series X, the PC, like that entire ecosystem. Xbox definitely has to take the runner up on that one. Not a strong year for PlayStation. Really, two great games, Final Fantasy 16 and Spider-Man 2, one being a third party exclusive, one being first party, but definitely the tides are beginning to change in a big way over at PlayStation. And single player content not looking great over there at PlayStation right now. And even, canceling off a ton of their multiplayer games, Naughty Dog getting their game canceled with Last of Us Online or Factions 2, whatever you want to call it. Tumultuous year internally on a first party level for PlayStation, I would say. So yeah, definitely, I would say far and away last place for 2023 in terms of best place to be playing games. Not that, that's the thing. They are so far ahead in console sales that it's like, I don't even know. Like at this point, I wonder how much exclusives even matter. If people just kind of they go and buy a PlayStation and they play their Fortnite and their Grand Theft Auto and their Call of Duty, and it's like, okay, well, they just own a PlayStation. It's almost it is ubiquitous at this point. So kind of bums me out a little bit. I'm hoping the tides on that do change, because it's beginning to look like Phil Spencer's comments about like, it doesn't matter if we put out a fucking 15 out of 10, it's not going to shift the console sales all that much. It's beginning to look like he might be right on that, which really bums me out, because it looks like Xbox has some crazy shit on the horizon with Fable and Hellblade 2 and Avowed and Clockwork Revolution and Blade and Doom and Dishonored and like on and on, South of Midnight, and just on and on and on. And if that content lineup doesn't significantly shift the console sales percentage, or if it doesn't significantly shift the mind share, then yeah, that'll bum me out. I hope that those Game Pass subscriber numbers go way the fuck up whenever that high quality content gets, churned out and is being released. And because I think if not, I do kind of worry. We'll save all of that, but I want high quality content to be rewarded. That way it ensures we continue getting high quality content. All right, but now let's head on to our next award, and we have Breakout Studio of the Year. And our runner-up is going to go to Tango Gameworks. We talked about them earlier with Hi-Fi Rush, but going from an exclusively horror-centric studio to showcasing their versatility with essentially a cartoon brought to life in video game form, with this awesome, like I said earlier, the awesome rhythm-based combat, and then just the world being in sync with one another. And it proved that this the potential of this team is limitless, especially now that they are being funded by Microsoft, and that budget, I imagine, for their next game has gone up exponentially. So I hope, listen, Tango made my favorite horror game of the modern era of the last, whatever, probably 20 years or so, with the Evil Within 2. So of course I want to see what the Evil Within 3 can look like with a Microsoft budget backing it. With that first game being solid, the second game being much, much better, what the hell could that third game look like? Could Xbox get their horror exclusive franchise with the Evil Within, or just, have the team make a spiritual successor if you don't want the name tied to it? Just, I want to see that team work on horror content. But, with the success of something like this, I would not at all be surprised to see a Hi-Fi Rush 2 in development. I wouldn't be surprised to see this get spun off into a cartoon, a little animated, television series. I could see this going a number of different ways with Hi-Fi Rush. Just a incredible success story for that team. And still, I think, somehow under the radar, even though it gets all of the adulation, all of the praise, all of the critical acclaim, still feels a little bit underappreciated, in my opinion. So runner-up for Breakout Studio of the Year is going to Tango Gameworks. Cannot wait to see what they are working on next. And the winner obviously has to go to Larian. Going from combined lifetime sales of like 5 million copies for both Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 to 15 plus 15 million at minimum in 1 year for Baldur's Gate 3 is fucking insane. Proving what clear focus and intentional game design can lead to, opposed to, the design by committee mentality that you see with a lot of AAA studios. I mean, you also got to think, like, what will their next game look like? Now that they have damn near unlimited resources after the success of Baldur's Gate 3, they went from being a $5 million Game Pass Day 1 title to now, if they wanted to make a deal, it would, I imagine, be close to $100 million. In that range. You know, when you saw the reports or the leaks come out where they were talking about to get Jedi Survivor, I think it was like $200 million if they wanted to get Jedi Survivor in 2023, day 1 on Game Pass. You would have to make the argument at this point that Baldur's Gate 3 would be worth right around that same amount, just in terms of the player base, in terms of the amount of people, the amount of eyeballs that would attract to your service. Like you would definitely have to argue that Baldur's Gate 3 is in that same company. So the potential, it seems like there is no ceiling on the potential of that studio, where they can go next. And that does come with its own risks for sure of, you still got to keep that tunnel vision. You still got to stay focused and have that clear intentional direction. But the possibilities are just fucking endless now. And I mean, nobody's surprised that Larian is a fucking great studio. They've been a great studio forever, but the breakout studio, once again, the name of this award is Breakout Studio of the Year. They broke out of their traditional success into the upper echelon, top tier level of success that you can get in this industry. So winner of Breakout Studio of the Year is going to Larian. Runner up is going to Tango Gameworks. Shout out to both of those studios. Just knocked it out of the park in 2023. And now we move on to a kind of silly one, the Game I Wish I Played award, the 2023 release that I wish I played. And my runner up here is going to a game called RoboDunk. This game, the only reason I regret selling my Switch now is because this game came to the Switch, but it didn't come to PS5 and Series X. Like, this would be the one game this year, other than, Tears of the Kingdom, that I would boot up the Switch for. And it looks so fucking cool. It's like a roguelite card game, also combining that with an NBA Jam style game, and then combining that with a fighting game with this almost claymation visual presentation. It looks so sick, dude. It looks so sick. I'm so bummed that I can't play this. This is the type of shit that I debate buying a Steam Deck for, just to play shit like this, indie titles, smaller titles, and retro, through the emulation, to play some classic titles that I don't want to fucking pay a arm and a leg for. But yeah, RoboDunk, I this is right up my alley. This is such a me style game. I hate that I can't play it. But yeah, shout out to it. I at least want to put some eyeballs on it for people out there who do have a Switch, who do have a PC, and they're looking for something totally off the wall, totally unique. I could imagine if I played this year that it would have been either the runner-up or winner for most unique game, but didn't get the chance to play it. But goddamn, I wish I did. And the winner for Game I Wish I Played 2023 release is going to have to be, of course, Alan Wake 2. You big old goddamn man. I hate to see it that it's not selling well at all. And a lot of that is due to Epic keeping it exclusive to the Epic Game Store on PC. But I think a lot of that, even Matt Piscatella, I believe, runs the NPDs. He even suggested that this probably should have gotten a physical release, and he suggests that the lack of physical sales is probably hurting this game a good bit, and that's why I didn't play it. And I know a lot of you out there are probably in a similar boat where you're just like, yeah, you're a AAA company you're being published. This game's being published by one of the biggest companies in gaming. You could put out a physical copy for sure. You could absolutely positively put out a physical copy of this game, and they will eventually. Like, I can't see a world where this doesn't get a physical release at some point. And I think that I hope that what we see is that it has a huge surge in sales when it gets a physical release, and it's just put on notice from that point moving forward that, yeah, this matters. And if you are a AAA publisher, AAA company, and you can section off some resources to commit to a physical release, it's probably going to be beneficial for you in the long run. I hope that is the message, that the main takeaway message that we get when that game comes out physically is people just go out in droves, buy that bad boy, sells like hotcakes, and then the message is felt loud and clear that, okay, yeah, this market is still very passionate. They still support that medium, and we need to support that medium as well by putting our content out there available for people to buy it that way. And I mean, at this point, I'm pretty much committed to with Alan Wake 2. I unless it's like $20 digitally, I don't think I'll budge. I think $20 is going to be my range. At $25, I don't think I'll pay any more than that for it digitally. But it bums me the hell out because I want to see more games like that. From everything I've seen about Alan Wake 2, it just looks so right up my alley. The weird musical numbers that they have tied into it, the more traditional survival horror focus for this title, like that's exactly what I wanted from Alan Wake 1, just to lean into the horror a little bit more, kind of remove the action elements a bit, just embrace the vibe, the atmosphere. Bright Falls is so atmospheric and just, you can't really get immersed in it because you're constantly shooting left and right, running, shooting. Like, just let me soak in that atmosphere. And it seems like Alan Wake 2 just absolutely bathes in atmosphere, and it allows you to sit there and totally take all that in and bask in the glory of this weird atmospheric adventure that you're going on. So yeah, it looks so good. I want to play it so damn bad, but not bad enough to pay $60 for it digitally. And yeah, I don't know. It's even more. I'm not saying a boycott. I'm not fucking holding up a damn sign. I'm not. It's no silly shit. It's just kind of to me personally, it is a thing where it's like, you're a $1 billion company. You can put that bitch out physically so that we can actually own our shit. You know what I mean? That's a whole nother rant for a whole nother day. But yeah, the game I wish I played for 2023 releases, the winner has to go to Alan Wake 2, and the runner-up going to Robo-Dunk. Shout out to you, Robo-Dunk. All right, but now let's move on to our next award, and that is going to be Best Trailer. The best trailer that I laid eyes on in 2023. The runner-up is going to have to go to Crimson Desert. And the only reason that this is a runner-up is because it's not the first time we've seen gameplay of it. But, I mean, shit, dude. It might as well have been. It had been years since we heard from this game. At least it felt like it had been years since we heard from this game. And boom, it pops back up onto the scene with one of the most ambitious-looking gameplay trailers that I have ever seen in my life. You saw enough gameplay. You saw enough gameplay per shot to be convinced that it's actually a real video game. You see tons of different mechanics on offer, and you can tell, this team is very much wearing their inspiration on their sleeve, inspired by Final Fantasy, Ghost of Tsushima, Breath of the Wild. Like, I mean, you have like Mercenaries kind of inspiration tied in there a little bit, just with I'm not saying that's direct inspiration, but, seeing the level of environmental destruction that's taking place inside of Crimson Desert, it's crazy that all of these different things are mixed up into this formula that they're trying to offer us. And listen, I 1000%, I've seen people say they're totally skeptical of this game, and I'm right there with you. I will always be skeptical of this game until it is in our hands. I could very well see this being far too ambitious to release in a clean, polished fashion. But, we're not evaluating or trying to predict if the game will be good. We'll save that for a later time. Right now, we're talking about the best trailers of 2023. And honestly, this is probably the best trailer of 2023. But surprise is a big element for this award for me. What things that just I could not believe that totally shocked the shit out of me. So the winner is just a little bit more shocking to me. Not taken away from Crimson Desert. I mean, it was definitely shocking that it looked as good as it did. And once again, even though I do think we're seeing real gameplay, and I do think that this is actually a real game that will release, it is chopped up pretty quickly, and you can kind of get the sense of, I wonder if that's chopped up real quickly, because this thing is going to be a mess when it launches. Like, to see a full 10-15 minute chunk of this game running, that would clear up a lot of the concern that people have. I understand that this thing's cooking. We'll give it time. I'm definitely not going to go into the camp of, oh, it's not a real game, it's totally bullshit, we'll never see this come out, it's too ambitious. I don't necessarily believe that. I think we need to open ourselves up to the potential reality that there's some new developers out there in different regions of the world that are about to really make their mark in the games industry. And Crimson Desert dropped a fucking fantastic trailer this year that blew me the hell away. Amazing trailer. I do definitely want to see more of it, though. And so, speaking to 10-15 minute trailers, that's the big reason why I'm awarding this game number one, this trailer number one, and that is for Star Wars Outlaws. It was just straight up gameplay. We just saw clean, straight through gameplay of this thing running for 15 minutes. Just a nice, tight mission. We got a great understanding in that 15-minute chunk of what this game is actually going to be, what we're actually going to do. And I mean, having an open world Star Wars game with vehicles and with light space exploration, some form of decision making, it didn't look that advanced, but having some agency in the plot, like, that is a dream Star Wars experience to me. And if this can just hit even at the same level as something like Assassin's Creed Odyssey, if it can hit at the level that did for me, but give me, a Star Wars skin on top of it, I'll be totally satisfied with this experience. But it looks like much more than that, in my opinion. It seems much more tightly constructed. Almost gives me some Uncharted vibes at times. It has a much more cinematic slant to it than any other Ubisoft game that I've ever seen before. And once again, we still have more of this game that we'll see in due time, and we can make our assessment of it then. But if it can blend all of this together, and the final package is like pristine quality, not some half-baked fucking mess when they ship it, this could be what Star Wars fans have been dreaming of forever. Because as much as I love Jedi Fallen Order and Survivor, the potential of getting to shape my own Star Wars narrative and playing as like a Han Solo-esque character who can be a bit more mischievous if I want to take that path, and then having, like the wanted levels, like a GTA wanted level situation going on as I'm gliding off, possibly getting into a high-speed chase in my damn spaceship. Like, this has all the makings of something that could be a next level Star Wars experience. Obviously, this is coming from Massive, the team behind The Division, who they just released the Avatar game. Listen, we'll talk about the Avatar game when I do my rankings, but I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. It's one of the most beautiful games I've ever seen in my life in terms of the world building and just the environments. But I don't want to sound rude. I don't think that's their A project. I don't think that's their A team working on that. Obviously, we saw, with the end screen, all the different teams that are working on Star Wars Outlaws. I have to imagine that is the full force, put all the fucking resources, all the budget, all the money into Star Wars Outlaws. I really think that is the project that they're full speed ahead, tunnel vision, focused on getting that out. And I know that it was reported that a big Ubisoft game was delayed out of 2024, so you have to imagine that is Star Wars Outlaws, but I'm A-okay with that. Take your time, cook. Unfortunately, I didn't even fucking think of that. 2025 might not be a great year to launch Star Wars Outlaws. I mean, listen, it doesn't necessarily mean, you just don't, please, for the love of God, don't pull a Horizon. Do not pull a Horizon and launch your open world game right next to fucking Breath of the Wild and right next to Elden Ring. Grand Theft Auto 6 is on the horizon. If you were Star Wars Outlaws and you're expecting to release in March, say, and you find out later that GTA 6 is going to release in April or whatever, give it 3-4 months. Give it its own 3-4 month window and move your open world game to a different quarter. You don't want to be anywhere near that juggernaut. People think that Horizon got slept on because of Elden Ring, because of Breath of the Wild. What is going to happen to other games if they launch near GTA 6 is going to be catastrophic. So I'm just praying that Ubisoft would not put that game anywhere near Grand Theft Auto 6. And that would be the only reason that I actually do hope that it could somehow, some way not have been delayed and then somehow, some way come out in 2024 so it can have its own window, its own chance to shine as its own open world, exploration, even having some of that crime, open world sandbox crime simulator tied into it as well. Once again, with being able to play as that style of character. I want that game to have its own chance to shine and not be totally overshadowed by the GTA 6 hype if it does have to come out in 2025. And listen, I know a lot of people are worried about Ubisoft in general and their involvement with this game in general. I don't really worry about that. I think, once again, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, that's a fucking, that's like a 9.1, 9.2 out of 10 game to me. That's one of my favorite games of the 8th generation. So if it can be on that level, to me, that would end up being probably the greatest Star Wars game I've ever played in my life. So I'm not as hesitant about Ubisoft's involvement per se, but I am hesitant about, listen, when things look this ambitious, there's always at least a 40% chance that it's not going to be able to live up to that ambition with the decision making, with the, action adventure kind of tight cinematic structure to the gameplay, with, being able to drive vehicles around, having a ship that you can take off into space, having a wanted system, all of these different things, the third person shooting, cover shooting aspects. Something is probably going to be a little bit lesser than its surrounding parts. There might be 7 things that are really good and the 8th thing isn't great. I can accept that. I'm just hoping that 4 things aren't bad and 3 things are good. You know what I mean? They have 3 things that they really nail and 4 mechanics that really fall by the wayside. I'm hoping that they hit about a 90% clip where most of the game is great. Maybe there's a couple things that aren't so great, but I'm not as worried about Ubisoft. I don't think Ubisoft really makes horrible games, in my opinion. I don't really even understand where that, at least their single player stuff, I don't really understand where that criticism began, because I don't think they've ever made bad single player games. They've maybe made a couple, but usually they hit at a pretty consistent clip, I would say. But maybe it's people saying, okay, we don't want a 7 out of 10 Star Wars game, we want a 9 out of 10 Star Wars game. And I could see that, but I would say I'm more confident that this will be better than most Ubisoft games. Anyways, that was a long ass ramble about a fucking trailer, but best trailer of 2023, that award is going to Star Wars Outlaws, and the runner up is going to Crimson Desert. All right, but now moving on from best trailer to best showcase, staying in the world of advertisements, let's talk about the runner up. And for me, that is going to have to go to Summer Games Fest, the 2023 Summer Games Fest showcase. And this really wasn't a great year for showcases. We had one great showcase, one truly, truly phenomenal showcase this year, I would say. But Summer Games Fest was pretty good. It was pretty good. We got Spider-Man 2 release date. We had the reveal for the Final Fantasy VII date with winter 20, or no, they said early 2024 at Summer Games Fest. So they gave that window. We got the Like a Dragon Gaiden official release date. And then we had a bunch of like cool new announcements, or I shouldn't say a bunch, a couple cool new announcements as well. We had Banishers, Ghost of New Eden that got announced for the first time. We had Sandland that got announced for the first time. We had the, didn't pan out too well, but we had the Sonic Superstars game that got announced for the first time. We had the Prince of Persia game that got announced for the first time here. And then we got extended looks at Alan Wake 2 gameplay, which wasn't a deep extended look from what we saw previously, but a little bit more gameplay there. We got a great gameplay look at MK1, Mortal Kombat 1, and Immortals of Avium at this showcase. So not a bad showcase. Definitely, looking back in retrospect, I think it was even a little bit better than I initially perceived it as, or reviewed it. I don't really remember what review score I gave it, even if I did review it on the channel. I kind of forget this shit, but it wasn't as bad as I thought. It's still just kind of reflective of the fact that I don't think 2024 is going to be an incredibly strong year for games. And I think these showcases, like the Game Awards, wasn't really that great. The PlayStation showcase was pretty bad in my opinion. And I think that's just kind of reflective of the fact that 2024, I think, is going to be a little bit on the lighter end. So yeah, in terms of releases. But number one, the winner of the best showcase, the best video game showcase of 2023, that of course is going to the Xbox 2023 showcase. And in terms of light 2024 release calendars, Xbox does not have that problem, because we got Flight Sim 2024 that was revealed at this showcase. We got Hellblade 2. We got Avowed that was, I had no intentions of seeing a 2024 release date attached to that, but Avowed is supposedly coming out in 2024. We got South of Midnight, the official announcement of that. We got Clockwork Revolution, the official announcement of that. We had, the 33 Immortals game that's coming out in 2024 that's coming to Game Pass. Like I said, the Persona games. We've talked a little bit about this earlier when talking about best console of the year, but that was just a tremendous showcase. And I'm sure there's other things that aren't hitting, that aren't hitting the top of my mind right now, but that was a really, really strong showcase. And I think that you're looking at 2024 with Xbox potentially dominating. If we come back and all of those games that we're talking about right now, if they end up actually launching in 2024, I think when we do best console next year for 2024, I think it might be a landslide victory for Xbox. Granted, all these games, they have to release, they have to hit. Like there are steps that have to be taken appropriately before we get to this time next year that would grant them that award. But if they can nail all of those steps on the path to the unnecessary games best console of 2024 award, then I think they'll probably end up winning that. So for best showcase of 2023, the winner there is going to the Xbox 2023 showcase, of course, and the runner-up will be Summer Games Fest, the 2023 Summer Games Fest showcase. But now, moving into our next award, we have biggest news story. And this was a very, very easy for me to come up with the runner-up and the winner here. The runner-up is going to GTA 6 officially being revealed. And I could definitely understand why 99% of people would have this as the winner. And I get that. Totally get that. It's going to sell hundreds and hundreds of millions of copies, no doubt. And we'll get to the winner in a second. But I also wanted to point out that GTA 6, the reason I didn't put it in best trailer was because there was no gameplay. You know what I mean? And so I think it's more of a news story than it is a best trailer. I think it's more in the category of biggest news story than it is best trailer for me. And we'll look at this next year when we get the official gameplay trailer, and that might end up going to 2024 being the best trailer of that year. But no doubt a juggernaut of a news story. I mean, I was seeing outlet. This is the type of game that gets covered by your CNNs and your Fox News and it's covered by sites that ESPN, people who have nothing to do with video games. You'll see articles, you'll see, clips rolling out on YouTube and shit like that from outlets who do not cover games at all, who are talking about Grand Theft Auto 6 and the different controversies that are already spinning up. And I'm so happy to see those controversies because it is, at least in America, which, the game is all about American culture, satire of American culture. And you're already seeing the obvious candidates for the people who are going to be offended. The far right, far left, bitching about something, and then everybody in the middle, everybody who's practical, everybody who has a fucking halfway normal functioning brain is just like, this shit looks dope. I can't wait to see more gameplay. I can't wait to check this out. And I'm so pumped to see more of it in 2024 and beyond. But once again, no gameplay. I can't really throw it in there with best trailer, best tone setting trailer, best world building trailer. Abso-fucking-lutely. But best trailer, I still got to go Crimson Desert and Star Wars Outlaws, just for the amount of gameplay that was showcased with both of those. And I do know, that's all in-game engine, and I do think GTA 6 is going to look very similar to what we saw in that trailer, but I still want to see what's the updates, what are the new features, what are the new mechanics with Grand Theft Auto 6? How is the melee feeling? How is the shooting feeling? What is the business management looking like? I want to see more tangible footage of the game actually running in real time. So, yeah, but still, undeniable. And you could legitimately make an argument that it is the biggest news story in games of 2023. Just the fact that it got a trailer. Think about that. Think about how fucking crazy that is. There's not a single other game ever, even, Half-Life 3, if it popped up with a trailer in 2023, you wouldn't consider that a biggest news story style scenario. That is a juggernaut unlike really anything else that we've ever seen before, and until GTA 7 we'll ever see again. So, yeah. Biggest news story, the winner is going to have to go in kind of a boring direction, though. And I'm going to go with Microsoft completing its acquisition of Activision Blizzard King. And once again, this is obviously a very boring ass story, but it's undeniably the most important, I would say, and the biggest gaming story of 2023, and just like the potential ripple effects that we'll see down the road from this acquisition. I mean, it'll totally change the reality of how we understand, or I should say it could change the reality of how we understand the games industry for the next decade. I mean, honestly, no, it will change the reality of how we understand the games industry for the next decade. It might change the reality of how we understand games forever. Like the potential ripple effects of this and how far and wide they could possibly reach is crazy. I mean, from Call of Duty alone and from King alone, Microsoft will become far and away the number one publisher in terms of gross revenue, which is fucking insane because they have consistently been third behind PlayStation and Nintendo in terms of, the big three console manufacturers. And I mean, Microsoft has always looked at Xbox as like a pet project that, they keep this around as like a toy in the attic. But now they're going to be a much, much bigger percentage of Microsoft's overall revenue. So like, how does Microsoft respond to that? Do they really finally take gaming super, super seriously? What does that look like in terms of the future acquisitions? Do we see more acquisitions in the future? If purchasing the biggest video game publisher on the planet is able to get cleared legally, what else can they get away with? I mean, you look at WB, who seems to be flailing. Embracer is imploding. Sega has a great relationship, ongoing kind of buddy-buddy relationship with Microsoft. Do they scoop up CDPR and become the absolute hit factory for big dog, action RPG developers. They could go in and scoop up Square before Sony can make that offer. Like, once again, I just think in terms of the potential reality that victory could create down the road and how it could change gaming forever. I think that it just has to be. It has to be the number one news story in terms of just the biggest news story. I think that has to be it. And I mean, just kind of coming back to Earth here and then thinking about the shit that we actually care about as gamers, just think about the possible deals that can be struck up now for Game Pass. Like, if Microsoft wants to just continue reinvesting Xbox's profit back into the brand, like, what the fuck could we see pop up on Game Pass if the entire initiative is still to just grow this brand and at all costs, no matter profit margins be damned, if their overall goal is to just grow this brand to be ubiquitous on a different level? Like, what the fuck could we end up seeing pop up on Game Pass? Like, once again, crazy potential scenarios. I just hope people understand, like, going and buying the biggest publisher in video games. And I should say, I'm not like celebrating this. I'm not a fan of acquisition at all. I'm just trying to look at it through all the different lenses, to look at possibly what good can come out of it. Obviously, Activision was a cesspool of a company for a long time, so hopefully that can get cleaned up a little bit. Yeah, that's the optimistic spin you can put on it. You have all those studios developers who are probably not passionate about working on Call of Duty year round, so the potential of them being able to go out and create new IP or work on something that's more invigorating, gives them an extra boost to want to come to work every day. Like, those are the positive spins that you can put on it. There are a laundry list of negative spins that you can put on it. You're seeing all of the layoffs in 2023. All of these developers, I think it was something like 8,000 developers in the games industry were laid off in 2023 in a record year for profit, in a year where we saw so many goddamn great games. It's like, I mean, look at Embracer. You know what I mean? We just talked about Embracer imploding. Could Microsoft go and just grab up the entirety of Embracer, buy them on a fire sale? But when you look at them imploding after making all of those acquisitions, it's like, that's the scary potential reality that these companies could be facing as well. So there's a lot. This is just a lot. You know what I mean? This is a big juggernaut of a news story that is undeniably, we don't know to what degree it's going to change gaming forever, but it's undeniably going to change gaming forever. And the floodgates are just now open with the biggest publisher in gaming being off the table, being acquired. What can't pass at this point? So yeah, number one winner of the biggest news story of 2023 has to go to Microsoft acquiring ABK, runner-up going to GTA 6. And now let's go to, let's hit one more slightly negative award, and then we'll close off the show with some positive shit. Biggest disappointment, the game that came out in 2023 that left me the most disappointed. The runner-up is going to WrestleQuest, and I was really into this, man. I played it for probably 4 or 5 hours, and then the game just totally bugged out on me. Could not progress at all. I asked for a refund from PlayStation, and I guess I had played it too long and I wasn't allowed to get my refund. Once again, don't buy digital shit. That's like the main takeaway, the main message, because at least, if this had a physical copy, I could take that bitch back to GameStop, and if they didn't give me a full refund, at least I could get fucking something out of it. It's just, anyways, WrestleQuest was a game, a turn-based RPG. A very, just the everything about this looked so fucking awesome, so unique. Like I said, I was really enjoying what I was playing of it, and yeah, just totally shit the bed on me. So I gotta give my biggest disappointment runner-up to WrestleQuest, and actually the winner, it is another wrestling game, AEW Fight Forever. not the best year for wrestling games. Probably the worst career mode that I've ever played in a sports game was inside of AEW Fight Forever. And then sports games have notoriously awful career modes. This was like, I don't know, 2.5 hours long, 3 hours long, maybe max to get through that career mode. It was just embarrassing. And the length of the career mode doesn't necessarily bother me, just the lack of substance. There's nothing going on there. There's no cohesive story. There's nothing. There is absolutely nothing that interested me about that game. Now, thankfully, I will say I was able to play through the whole damn career mode, so maybe biggest disappointment in that fact should just go to WrestleQuest, but I was actually at least liking WrestleQuest. I liked nothing about AEW Fight Forever. Nothing at all. The gameplay was fine at best. So biggest disappointment, the winner is going to AEW Fight Forever and the runner-up is going to WrestleQuest. Hoping 2024 and beyond brings us better wrestling games. 2K23, WWE 2K23 was pretty good, so I am excited for 2K24. But yeah, 2 wrestling games as my biggest disappointments this year. Howdy, homies. I'm coming to you from the future here. The last category that I had rolled out that you were about to dive into in the video, when I watched it back, I was like, that kind of sucks. I just did my most played games of 2023 and I made a whole video about that. It's like, that seems a little bit boring as like a final category before we get into your game of the year, which I still have to wait, I think 3 more days. So I'll be coming to you from the future once again to broadcast you your, the grand finale of the show, your game of the year. Want to make sure all the votes can have time to be submitted. That thing is just teetering back and forth between the 2 candidates. But anyways, while I was editing the video, I thought about a couple additional categories that I thought would be fun to add to the mix here. And I want to still include the most played games, but I thought about a fun way to freshen it up a little bit. That way it's not just completely repeating what that video, the most played games of 2023. That way it's not just totally repeating that. So we'll go ahead and kick it off there with my top 10 most played games of 2023. I went and did some behind the scenes investigating I went and went to the PlayStation app and looked through pretty much the majority of the games I played in 2023 to count up the hours. Same thing with Xbox. And I have here my top 10 most played games of 2023. And I'll put it up on the screen for you all to see. Number 1, I have Starfield at 66 hours. Number 2, I have Resident Evil 4 at 48 hours. Number 3, I have Jedi Survivor at 39 hours. Number 4, I have Grand Theft Auto 4 at 37 hours. Number 5, I have Final Fantasy 16 at 37 hours. So, the kind of tied for 4 there. Number 6, I have Hogwarts Legacy at 31 hours. Number 7, WWE 2K23 at 30 hours. And then this one's tough. I have Mass Effect Andromeda. For some reason, it doesn't show, like when I go to the stats page on the Xbox app, it didn't show the stats for total hours played for Mass Effect Andromeda, but I know without a doubt it's at least 26. I would venture to guess it would probably be above WWE 2K23 and probably above Hogwarts Legacy as well, but I'm going to keep it at number 8 at least 26 hours for Mass Effect Andromeda. And then number 9, Spider-Man 2 with 26 hours. And number 10, Avatar Frontiers of Pandora at 25 hours. A nice little December game, getting in there and taking up a lot of my month of gaming with old Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. So those are my top 10 most played games of 2023. Thought that was a little bit more of an interesting twist instead of just going through a winner and a runner-up, because you already know that if you tuned into the last video. But I have a few more categories here that I want to go over with you all that I was thinking over while editing the video. And one that we can hop into out the gate is my favorite gaming trend of 2023. And for this, it can be anything, anything that kind of stood out to me, something that made me go, oh yeah, I would like to see more of that in 2024 and beyond. So the runner-up is going to go to surprisingly good license games. And I think when you look at RoboCop, the first good RoboCop game, ever, I think you could say, came out in 2023. The first truly great Harry Potter game ever in 2023, released this year. A damn solid Star Trek game came out. The Expanse was pretty solid. Like I said, just a second ago, Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, put 30 hours into that. That was pretty solid. One I didn't play, but I've heard kind of mixed things about is that Hellboy game, Web of Weird. It seems like the hardcore Hellboy fans seem to kind of be enjoying it for what it is. It seems to be a little bit more on the challenging side, but I love the damn art style. I do have interest in checking that out at some point, but I didn't get around to it. I'm hearing kind of mixed things, but it doesn't seem to be just across the board awful. And yeah, I like seeing that non-Star Wars and non-Marvel games are getting decent video game adaptations. That just has not been a common trend in the last few years. It seems like if it's not Marvel, if it's not Star Wars, we're not getting much of anything in terms of, solid licensed games. So yeah, and I mean, listen, of course you had some awful licensed games released this year as well. I think that's just kind of going to be the case when you get, we had an abundance of licensed titles in 2023. But yeah, the Rise of Kong game seemed to be horrible from all accounts. I didn't play it, obviously. Gollum, Lord of the Rings Gollum, seemed to be awful from all accounts. So you did have some less than stellar licensed titles, but those, I would say, are more the exception and not the rule. It seemed to be a good overall year for licensed titles, especially B-tier licensed titles, kind of getting decent video game adaptations. I think that would be, if I had to put my finger on the pulse of what I'm trying to convey here, it would be, I want to see more B-tier licensed games come out in a solid state and actually have good adaptations released in the video game medium for fans of that license, fans of that IP, to have something solid to play. And I think we got that in 2023, along with your obvious Jedi Survivor and Spider-Man 2, and you got the standouts that you would expect to be great, and then also games of a slightly lesser caliber, B-tier licensed titles that were pretty damn good as well. So shit, yeah, surprisingly good year for licensed games. And my winner is gonna go to, it's a simple one here, but open-ended puzzle solving. I think that made a huge breakout in 2023, of course, with Tears of the Kingdom leading the way on that full stop. And I also think Viewfinder played a pretty big role, at least for me, in realizing that this is just what I want from puzzle solving, in large part. I'm okay with the traditional puzzle solving games as well, but games that give players all the tools they need and just kind of allow us to figure out multiple ways to solve each puzzle instead of, constantly telling the player they're wrong for everything they're trying to attempt. Anytime they try to think outside the box or experiment a little bit, it's like, no, you can't do that. You can't do it this way. You got to do it this one specific way. We have this strict set of rules that you have to follow to get to the next level, to get to the next puzzle. I think that when you look at Tears of the Kingdom, and with the Ultra Hand ability and being able to whip up these concoctions and build these boats and build these ships and build all these different, methods of traversal and ways to reach the destination that you're trying to get to, and, solving the different shrines, and just they had so much on offer there in terms of versatility and in terms of freedom in how you were going to reach your destination, in terms of how you were going to get your desired result out of that puzzle in particular that you were trying to solve in Tears of the Kingdom. And I think Viewfinder, really similar. You can speed run Viewfinder in an hour, or you can play it the traditional way and then probably 6-7 hour experience, maybe 4 or 5 hour experience. But games that just offer that level of versatility in how you go about solving the puzzles, and instead of punishing players for experimenting, kind of reward that and even kind of encourage trial and error. I just think that approach and the trend that those two games in particular, Viewfinder and Tears of the Kingdom, the trend that those two set in 2023, I hope we see a lot more copycats of just that ideology. I hope we see more developers subscribe to that ideology in the future, just giving players a bunch of tools and letting them go wild and figure out, 100 different ways to solve this one puzzle, and not having a specific path that you have to stay in those strict guidelines to get your desired result. I just think that's such a cool way of implementing fresh ideas for puzzle solving. So especially with AAA games, you know what I mean? Like I could think of a million different ways you could incorporate that into something like the next Jedi Survivor game, whatever the follow-up is to Jedi Survivor, with all your different force powers and shit. It could essentially be like Tears of the Kingdom in some way with the Ultra Hand ability. So yeah, man, I'll give my winner for favorite trend of 2023 to open-ended puzzle solving. All right, and now we'll move on to most ambitious game of 2023. And the runner-up for this one, I am going to go with Hogwarts Legacy. And for one, Avalanche going from Disney Infinity and Cars to this is just absolutely ridiculous. Just what a wildly ambitious leap forward for that team. And the fact that they did not slip at all. They knocked this shit out of the park. Totally managed the ambition properly. It's a huge game with tons of variety, a great character customization suite, light role playing elements, fantastic flexible combat system. You have sim sort of management features going on, a seamless open world to explore. With your flying mounts and your broom and all that shit inside of one of the most meticulously crafted open worlds maybe in video games ever. I mean, Hogsmeade, that little town just full of interactable shops and quest givers, and then you go into the main castle that's just filled to the brim with attention to detail galore on offer for the hardcore Harry Potter fans around every corner of that fucking castle, man. And the fact that Avalanche nailed all of this without any real problems at launch. The game came out clean as shit. People who bought it on day one weren't punished, in the way that a lot of AAA publishers seem to punish players nowadays, where they launch a game, it's broken, they spend the next few months cleaning it up until it's somewhat functional, and then maybe 2 years down the road you have the game that you should have had at launch. And the fact that Hogwarts Legacy was as ambitious as it was and pulled off everything that it was setting out to do and not overscoping, while also, like I said, being so ambitious with all those features that I just laid out, that is incredibly fucking impressive. And I don't think that can be understated, just how ambitious that game was, especially when looking at the history of that developer and never making anything even close to this scale, close to this scope. So yeah, my runner up there, it's going to have to go to Avalanche and Hogwarts Legacy for most ambitious game of 2023. But my winner will be Starfield. I love Starfield. I've talked about it a lot, but not all ambition is good ambition. What we just laid out with Hogwarts Legacy, that is good ambition. That is like the perfect level of ambition and managed ambition. You know what I mean? Like the scope of that game, they found the perfect blend to be incredibly ambitious, but to also achieve exactly what they were setting out to achieve. And I think you can argue that Starfield might not have achieved exactly what it set out to achieve. When they laid out this concept, when they were first kind of in the concepting phase of development for Starfield, I don't think that they necessarily wanted to make a game where you were traveling between space just by navigating menus and fast traveling and constantly being in these different loading screens. But having a game that offers up incredible agency in the narrative, great side quests, the best Bethesda combat ever, best BGS combat ever, base building, ship customization, dogfighting, a character creation suite, background, choices for that character, party members. I mean, on and on and on. Having little different houses that you can interior design and shit. I mean, it has so many systems on offer, and any game that offers up all of that is risking falling well short of players' expectations in some area. And like we were talking about, for Starfield, BGS fell way short of players' expectations in the space exploration. It's just not that fun to navigate between space by selecting different menu options. And I think that's kind of the killer for Starfield for most people. And I've talked about it a lot on the channel. To me, that didn't really bother me as much, but I get it. I get that is a big mark against that game, and I can't really argue that. You know what I mean? It does seem like the idea of 1,000 planets and 100 solar systems, and that pitch met with the fact that you can't really travel seamlessly between those planets and solar systems. Like, yeah, this was probably overscoped. It could have been 90%. It could have been scoped down about 90% if you just had 100 if even less. Honestly, if you had 8 planets, 9 planets that you were traveling between, I think that would have been fine with most people. You know what I mean? So yeah, just overly ambitious, I would say, is like the main takeaway of Starfield. And as much as I love the game, I think I would even have to agree with that. It was too ambitious for its britches. And so yeah, most ambitious game of 2023 that I played personally would have to go to Starfield. And we'll keep this award rolling, with 2024 and beyond. But not all ambition is good ambition. And then I think that's kind of my key takeaway with Starfield overall. Not my key takeaway with Starfield overall, but a key takeaway with Starfield overall. I love that game. I absolutely love that experience because it offers up how I like playing games. And then, we'll go into all that with the ranking video that'll come out in a week from this video. But also, to be fair, my copy of Baldur's Gate 3 has not arrived yet. I bought the physical collector's edition, or whatever they call it, as soon as they dropped the ability to buy the physical PS5 version. I went out, bought that bitch, and I think it should be arriving January, February or so. So by all accounts, that may be the most ambitious game of 2023, but I'll really have to dive into it to see all that for myself. But yeah, out of everything I played, Starfield, definitely the most ambitious game of 2023. All right, but my final topic here, my final award here, I don't know if you can really call this an award. I think it's just a good little look ahead, a good genie in the bottle wish for 2024, casting some good energy into the gaming sphere in 2024. If you could make one wish for any game in 2024, rather it be an announcement, rather it be you wishing a game to be of a high quality bar, a game to actually release in 2024, you whatever the hell you want to wish, but you just get one wish. As a ministry would say, just one fix, you get just one wish. So no runner-ups for this category, just one wish. And I thought about a bunch of different things with this category. For one, I thought about Jurassic Park Survival. I thought about, should I wish that into existence to release in 2024 and be like an 8 out of 10? That way Jurassic Park fans can be eating good. And finally, for the first time ever, I think you could make an argument that if Jurassic Park Survival comes out and is solid, would that be the first ever like good Jurassic Park single player game, like single player narrative driven game? I know that they had the Telltale game in the PS3 360 era. I don't know if that was great, but a horror single player Jurassic Park game, I mean, the fans of the franchise have been wanting that for so goddamn long. It's such a shame that it's taken this long to get it. So I hope that is good. But like I said, with the category, I can't do runner-ups, and also with Jurassic Park Survive. Just to continue rambling on here, if that is good, I wonder if it's really good and a fucking 9 out of 10 range and sells like hotcakes. I wonder if that can poke the sleeping giant over there that is Capcom with Dino Crisis and get them back into the mix. Be inspired to see that, oh yeah, a horror dinosaur game. I think we have one of those. But like I said, no runner-ups. Even though I have a bunch of runner-ups that I'm thinking about right now. We talked about earlier, Star Wars Outlaws. I kind of do hope that it releases in 2024, and I'm pretty sure that it's going to get delayed into 2025, but I hope it releases in 2024. That way it doesn't get eaten alive by Grand Theft Auto 5. NCAA 2025, I hope it's a hell of a lot better than the last few Madden games. There's a bunch of wishes. There's a bunch of wishes that I can cast out into the ether, but I think the one that I'm going to have to go with, I'm really torn between two. And like I said, no runner-up, so I have to pick one. I have to pick one to lock it in. I'm torn between two. And I'll go ahead and let you know what the two that I'm torn between are. I am torn between a really solid PlayStation showcase where it's just super single-player focused, just diving into Tsushima, Uncharted, like one of those PlayStation E3 of dreams like 2016, 2015, or 2016, actually 2015, 2016, and 2017. I think we're all like top tier PlayStation E3 showcases. We need one of those to restore the faith in the brand to for people like me, for older gamers, I'm sure a lot of you who love those Tsushima, Uncharted, Last of Us, just to see that new Naughty Dog IP after Factions has been canceled, maybe another glimpse at Wolverine after all those fucking leaks, which I thought looked really damn good. But yeah, we need some single player first party content to be announced. Like I would say desperately bad in the PlayStation ecosystem, because it's looking dire, like it's looking god awful. But I don't know if I could put that above The Wolf Among Us 2, because here's the thing: if it's just one like outlandish Hail Mary wish, I think the likelihood of a PlayStation showcase hitting in 2024 and being pretty solid, I think that is a more likely scenario than The Wolf Among Us 2 launching in 2024, or really launching ever. I wonder if The Expanse did well. I'm guessing it probably didn't do incredibly well for Telltale. I hope it did well enough to keep the studio afloat until we can get The Wolf Among Us 2. But here, that's the thing. If it meanders and kind of stumbles across the finish line and releases, that's not really what I want. But if it's just one wish, I will say The Wolf Among Us 2 launches in 2024, and it's rock solid. Like a perfect continuation from the first game. The Wolf Among Us 1 I've talked about a million times. It's the game that got me back into gaming. I love that property. I love the idea, the concept of The Wolf Among Us. I want to see the second game so goddamn bad. I think I even would have to say I want to see it more than... It's not that I want to see it more than the PlayStation 2024 showcase that knocks us off, just blows us away, knocks us off our feet, fucking just totally stuns us. But I think there's a slim chance that actually could happen, whereas I have very, very, like, bottom of the barrel expectations that we'll ever see The Wolf Among Us 2. So I'm going to say the one genie in the bottle wish for 2024 in gaming would be that we get The Wolf Among Us 2 launched in 2024, and it's rock solid, like a perfect continuation of the first game. So my Just One Wish award for 2024 is that The Wolf Among Us 2 comes out and is really, really damn good. Man, I have so many others jotted down for this category. There are so many others that I thought about that I would really consider for this award or for this wish category here. Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, just being a decent narrative, having a decent enough narrative, a decent enough gameplay loop. Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 coming out and really leaning into the agency with your choices. I don't have high expectations for either of those two games. WWE 2K24 continuing the upward trajectory of those career modes and improving the GM mode. There's a lot that I had wrote down that I was really, really thinking about for my 2024 One Wish of 2024 award. But yeah, The Wolf Among Us 2. We'll lock that in for the One Wish, because I think I have such low expectations for that. But yeah, man, that's going to be my last category for the 2023 Unnecessary Game Awards showcase here today. And we will, in a couple days, I'll be hopping back in here from the future to broadcast to you your Game of the Year, voted on by you good people on the YouTube community tab. It is a very goddamn close race, and I'll be going through it in live time. And so whatever, after the fact, if you go and vote some different shit, I'm sorry, man. You were too late to the draw. I gave it a 7-day rule. I'll be going through it here in live time, scrolling through it on my iPad here. I'll have it popped up on the screen and everything. I don't know why I'm explaining it. You'll see it in just a second. It'll be a couple days my time, but it'll be about 20 seconds your time. So stay tuned for 2.5 seconds, and I'll be back from the future. All right, my good people, coming back to you from the future, and it is time to look over your Game of the Year. All the blood, sweat, and tears have led you to this moment. The battles in the polls has led you to this moment to crown your Game of the Year. And it's a close one. Let's go take a look. So we began with 50 games, and we end up with these two competing in a bloodbath in the finals. Spider-Man 2 versus Baldur's Gate 3 to be crowned your Game of the Year. And the final results go to Spider-Man 2 at 51% and Baldur's Gate 3 at 49%. So just, I mean, a couple votes away from Baldur's Gate 3, tying or taking this thing. Just a bloodbath in the finals, a barn burner, a slobber knocker, whatever the hell you want to call it. It was to the wire, a nail biter. So congratulations to Insomniac, to Spider-Man 2 for being the unnecessary game of the year, the 2023 community unnecessary game of the year. And I guess if I'll scroll down through all of the polls and just kind of give you an overview of the battles that have taken place throughout the last couple weeks here on the channel, on the community tab, that got us to where we ended up. Been a lot of we started off with 50 games, whittled it down to those final two, and yeah, man, what a damn year. One of the most stacked years in video game history. And a fitting way to close off the Game of the Year polls, to close off the Game of the Year votes down to the wire, and just very evenly matched, a stacked matchup to close off the year. And I think that's a good representation of the year at large. So once again, shout out Spider-Man 2, shout out to Insomniac, and also shout out to Larian, and shout out to Baldur's Gate 3. Both, I can't really speak too much to Baldur's Gate 3. I mean, I'm aware it's a fantastic game, but I'm waiting for my copy to come in the mail. I got to get that physical edition. It should be, I think, February or so when it arrives, but definitely both incredible games. I don't have any issues saying that. Even without me playing Baldur's Gate 3, I'm aware that it's an incredible game, as is Spider-Man 2. So yeah, that is your Game of the Year, Spider-Man 2. So there you have it, guys. All the votes have been cast. Like I said, I like to wait 7 days, and so anything you cast after this point is ineligible. If the vote shifts into Baldur's Gate 3's favor, I can't go back in time to change this. Like I said in the post here, I'm waiting 7 days, so the 7 days are officially up, and yeah, Spider-Man 2 is your winner. So that is going to close off, to put a cap on the 2023 Unnecessary Game Awards. And yeah, 7 days, you shall be seeing my Game of the Year discussion pop up. I've already got it recorded. I've already got most of it edited. So I'm going to wait 7 days, give you enough time, because I know that this video is already long enough. And then I will drop my ranking. And just to go ahead and spoil that for you, it is longer than this video. So definitely some very, very long-winded content to close off the year. And I already got a 2024 video recorded, which I guess the ranking every game I played in 2023, that'll be the first 2024 video, and I got another one recorded that will follow that up, and that's a long ass video as well. So some nice long content to sit with for the new year. And shout out to everybody, man. Shout out to Spider-Man 2. Shout out to you guys for the votes, and take it easy. I hope you were all having a great, well, I guess it's not a new year yet. I hope you all had a great holiday season, and I hope you all have a happy new year. I will see you guys in 7 days. Take it easy, guys. Goodbye.